In the Arabian Sea, the first blast arrived like a hammer against steel. Lights died. Deck plates bucked. At 2200 hours on August 28, 1944, the Liberty ship John Barry took a torpedo to her starboard side, and the bow began to flood. Men tumbled for stations in the dark while the ship still made 12 knots on a zigzag course. A lifeboat was thrown onto the afterdeck, another blown overboard. When the second strike came a half-hour later, the ship broke in two and the sea rushed through her open wounds. She had sailed under radio silence, routed from Philadelphia toward Aden and then up to Ras Tanura on the Persian Gulf. In her holds were U.S. Army trucks, stacked crates, tools, ordinary freight for a war that ate equipment by the ton. Hidden among that cargo were canvas bags and wooden boxes holding 3 million Saudi 1 rial coins, freshly minted in Philadelphia, bound for Dhahran to pay workers building new American oil facilities at Ras Tanura, because Saudi Arabia did not yet use paper money. The shipment was routine in its purpose and secret in its handling. The guard presence during loading had been unusual. The gossip ever since would be louder. Out there, roughly 100 nautical miles off Oman, the German submarine U-859 had been waiting. She watched the unescorted American steam merchant cross her sights and fired. The explosion flooded the forward holds. The Barry's captain, Joseph Ellerwald, ordered abandoned ship. 10 officers, 31 crew, and 27 armed guards fought jammed davits and bad luck in black water. One lifeboat capsized during lowering. The chief officer and a crewman drowned in the chaos. Rafts drifted under the stars as the halves of the ship slid away and the oil slick spread thin as a sheen. Survival that night was a measure of timing. 2 hours after the sinking, the Dutch tanker Sunetta lifted 31 survivors from 2 rafts and a boat and carried them to Aden on September 2nd. 14 hours after the attack, the American merchant Benjamin Bourne found the others and brought them to Khorramshahr, Iran, arriving September 6th. In the official tally, there would be 66 survivors and 2 dead. The wreck came to rest in deep water at 15 degrees 10 minutes north, 55 degrees 18 minutes east, far beyond any commercial salvage of the 1940s or the decades after. The coins were a wartime fix to a wartime problem. During the crisis years, silver itself was prized, and coins vanished into hordes. Aramco's projects on the Gulf needed hard currency to pay laborers. The Saudi government arranged through Lend-Lease to buy silver in the United States and strike rials at the Philadelphia Mint. Millions of those coins crossed the Atlantic without incident from 1943 onward. Only one consignment never arrived, the 3 million pieces locked in number, 2 hold of the Barry. From the first rumors, sailors and officials put a larger figure on the mystery, uncoined bullion, tens of millions of dollars worth, supposedly bound for India, or later, some said, for the Soviet Union. The paperwork was murky, the numbers tempting. The story of the bullion would grow teeth and refuse to let go. Half a century later, technology finally caught up with the depth. In 1989, a Yemeni-born Omani businessman, Sheikh Ahmed Farid Al-Awlaki, acting through an organization called Ocean Group, and with Blue Water Recoveries as offshore contractor, acquired the salvage rights. Side-scan sonar soon found a Liberty hull in 2 pieces. In 1992, a video survey read the name on the wreck and settled the identity. The prow was stuck in the mud. The number. 2 hold, where records showed coins had been stored, sat more accessible beneath collapsed structure. French oceanographic engineers from IFREMER joined the effort with a crude minisub to plan the cut. In October 1994, a modified drilling ship lowered a massive video-equipped grab more than 2,600 meters, about 8,500 feet, through a stack of pipe to the wreck. At first, the camera lens smeared with oil, turning the screen dull and brown. Then came a flash, a scatter of pale discs. Over 5 days, the grab ripped open number 2 hold and poured treasure onto the deck. About 1.3 million silver reals, roughly 17 tons, some in canvas bags that had survived at depth, many loose, drumming against steel as they fell from the jaw. One lift alone spilled 60,000 coins. Reports that November put the hoard's value at $70 million, though that figure said as much about headlines as it did about numismatics. The bullion, if it had been there at all, did not show itself. The crew searched other compartments and even peeled open the captain's cabin in hopes of finding a plan of stowage. The grab found machinery, vehicles, gun mounts, and no bars of silver. The rumor lived on anyway. In Geneva, the following year, Sotheby's tried to sell the recovered coins as a single lot. Expectations were high. The room was quiet. Bids failed to cross the reserve price and the hoard went back to storage. Later, smaller offerings trickled to collectors with certificates of provenance. Saudi Arabia, 1 rial, AH 1354, recovered from the SS John Barry, Arabian Sea, 1994. Coin clubs passed them around in plastic slabs. A few still show the ship's oil locked in their surfaces, a stain that may never polish out. The simplest facts of the sinking are the ones that hold up in all the telling. An American Liberty ship, completed in 1942 in Portland, was running unescorted toward the Gulf when U-859 torpedoed her about 125 miles off the coast on August 28, 1944. A coup de grace split her in two. The position was logged, survivors were picked up, 2 men did not make it out. The depth fixed the wreck in place and delayed the hunt until the 1990s, when deep water recovery proved possible. What remains uncertain is the bullion story. Crew memories, cables, and later authors point in different directions: India, Russia, or nowhere at all. Blue Water's Robert Hudson would later say it was hearsay. Others still argue that a portion of uncoined silver could lie buried under the bow. Down there, the mud keeps its own counsel. If you picture the ship at the last moment, you see the work lights failing and hear the wind shear off the sea. You see the tilt as the bow goes heavy. A lifeboat slides crooked and men fight the weight of water. Somewhere below that, crates and trucks shift against bulkheads. Somewhere deeper, canvas bags of coins sit like ballast, unattended. Above it all, rafts and boats drift in the night until a tanker's lamps draw near. Later, in a different night, a drill ship holds station by satellite, and a steel jaw gropes along a rusted deck until silver appears like a flurry of hail. The coins told a small truth. They explained why the Barry had left her convoy and crossed a dangerous stretch alone, to carry hard money to pay wages in a country that had not yet moved to paper. They also explained very little about the stories that would flower around the wreck. A rumor is easy cargo. It rides for free. Even after engineers brought up 17 tons of proof, people wanted more. The idea of a lost mountain of bullion is a tide of its own. It pulls. Today, individual rials from the John Barry circulate among collectors and museums, each stamped with the face of a king and the date the mint assigned decades earlier. They are souvenirs of a night when war reached into a quiet sea lane and of an operation 50 years later that proved the deep can be worked like a job site. Somewhere out there, 2 miles down, the rest of the cargo still lies in darkness, beyond ordinary reach, but not beyond imagination. In port cities from Muscat to Aden to Houston to Marseille, the men who searched for it learned the same lesson sailors long before them had learned. What the sea takes, it keeps, unless you come back with the right tools and a lot of patience. Thank you for listening to The Sunken Ledger. Subscribe for more true stories from the depths.